Yes, welcome here. This is a new weekly series where we explore our primary text at Sanctuary, which is the Tao Te Ching by the ever mysterious Lao Tzu. And this week we are exploring chapter 3 with you. So let's get into it. By not adoring the worthy, people will not fall into dispute. By not valuing the hard to get objects, people will not become robbers. By not seeing the desires of lust, one's heart will not be confused. Therefore, the governing of the saint is to empty one's mind, substantiate one's virtue, weaken one's worldly ambition, and strengthen one's essence. He lets the people to be innocent of worldly knowledge and desire, and keeps the clever ones from making trouble with their wits. Acts naturally without desire, then everything will be accomplished in its natural order. So let's explore together. What's your takeaway? Your first.
Wow.
What first comes to you?
I feel a little conflicted there, honestly. First of all, I want to say that we switched up and we're using a different version that is in the public domain. This book, again, is over 2,000 years old, so there are hundreds and hundreds of different translations. This one's coming out of the 1800s, so some of the language here is maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say necessarily out of touch, but I don't think you'll see the word saint in any more modern translations. But where I struggled was weaken one's worldly ambition and strengthen one's essence. That's maybe a bit of a personal struggle that I'm experiencing right now, as I find myself someone who does have a lot of ambition, and I don't know. I question whether or not the great sages would actually want us to not be ambitious. So the paradox for me is really present in this chapter. But there is a lot of the importance of not overvaluing the material is deeply present there, and how when we do, we are inviting kind of like chaos into our lives is what comes up for me. It's just looking at it in this moment. What about for you?
Similarly, for me, that initial reaction is that is Lao Tzu telling us not to be abundant here? Like to let go of wanting more, let go of what we desire. And then as I reread it several times, it seems to be focusing or saying it's the focusing on the material outcome type of valuing that more than valuing that almost as the source is my takeaway. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, it's not saying don't want more or don't desire more, but don't mistake that outcome with your source of life.
Yeah.
Saying the sage acts naturally without desire, then everything will be accomplished in its natural order. So almost then saying that, well, you will get what it is that you want if you can take a step back and not be so focused on the outcome. It'll just unfold.
I like
in
what
its
you said
natural
there
order.
about like not mistaking the source for the material. I guess I thought about it as you were saying that in terms of not mistaking the effect for the cause, right? Like wealth is not the cause of your happiness, right? It is actually the effect of your happiness, maybe, right? So that in reconsidering it, it does line up more with how I am currently engaging with the world. We are looking at this from as a spiritual text. One of the great challenges with modern spirituality has been its embracing of poverty as a virtue, right? Like the Christian, kind of like the biblical, I believe, misinterpretation of poverty being a virtue, which, like it's worth noting that all of these texts that have been around for hundreds or thousands of years can be and have been reinterpreted over and over. So it's not that it's the poverty is a virtue. The virtue is in recognizing that all of our wealth is not the source of our joy.
What comes to mind to me is the different stories of King David from the Bible, and how, and I don't know a whole lot about the Bible, admittedly, but this story comes to mind of King David, like the wealthiest man around, who would in the evening take off his royal garb and get into a state of mind of having no material possessions, which this comes to mind as I read this part about the governing of the saint is to empty one's mind, substantiate one's virtue, and weaken one's worldly ambition and strengthen one's essence. And the interpretations I've heard of that story of King David is essentially that was the key to his abundance, was getting into a state of mind of, let's remember what my source is. Because if I get too caught up in, my source is the obsession with more, with the royalty, with the fame, with the jewels, with all of that, then I've got it twisted, and that will be what makes me poor. So instead, I must make myself poor at the end of the day, so that the divine doesn't do it for me. Like I'm going to proactively go there, so that, I am emptied of this noise to get to the source.
Yeah. He was also a small man who defeated Goliath too. It's like there's that thread of that character being a simple, humble individual, and that being what led to his greatness runs throughout the story. You mentioned prior to recording that this, at least one interpretation that you were exploring related to the Kabbalic principle of the evil eye. Would you want to talk about that a little bit? I think there's some value here.
Sure. Yeah. One interpretation, which I won't read it just because it's not in the public domain, but essentially in the beginning, it's speaking to not putting on display. Like, I guess I can read a couple of lines, right?
Sure.
It starts by saying, not praising the deserving prevents envy, and not valuing wealth prevents theft. So in Kabbalistic teachings, there's a concept of evil eye and evil speech. And my understanding of evil eye is like there's all these different ways to encourage evil eye from others, and one of which can be putting things on display. It's like if we get a brand new nice Apple laptop and just leave it sitting in the passenger seat of our car and put it on display for the world, then we're encouraging theft. It's not like we're the cause of the theft necessarily, but we're encouraging it. We're putting it on display for others to envy and want to take from us, versus having a sense of reverence for the good things we have in life and keeping that close to our heart and taking care of it, shielding it from evil eye.
Yeah. It's what's said to be one of the ways to dispose of evil eye if you are, like, let's say you've worked really hard and you've taken care of all of your bills and business, and now you've bought yourself a nice car. You wanted a nice car, and you bought that nice car. You know, the Kabbalic principle of negating any evil eye that might come on you.
Do I know it?
Yeah.
Maybe remind me, please.
It is that in displaying these things, like driving around in your car, your heart's desire is that you serve as an inspiration to others. Right? It's the displaying things with the energy of, oh, look at me and look what I've got, that draws the evil eye and opens us up to the susceptibility of that. And it's not just like in terms of theft. This is a really powerful principle that in any aspect of our lives, if we are performing in a way that is seeking the envy or even just the acknowledgement of others, rather than just doing it because it's the right thing to do or doing it because we want to motivate and inspire others, then that actually energetically opens us up to the harmful effects of the evil eye. It's a very interesting and powerful concept.
Yeah, that's this part in chapter 3 where it's saying the sage lets the people be innocent of worldly knowledge and desire and keeps the clever ones from making trouble with their wits. So to me, that's speaking to what you just said, that intention piece. Arriving or showing up in a space, in a room with that energy of, look at me, look what I can do, look at how smart I am, look at my accomplishments, look, with that energy versus holding that in our heart and showing up with an intention of being of service and uplifting others is like a very different energy.
Giving or taking, creating or destroying. It's these poles that we can embody, and it has real world implications on our experience and that of others as well.
Yeah. So for you to bring it into a lived experience perspective, what comes to mind for you as far as how this is, this experience that we're speaking to is unfolded in your life?
Well, it's really timely, actually, now that I sit with it. You know, I was just expressing to you this morning that I am endeavoring to more fully integrate this learning of mine from my ceremony work of what I call joyful knowing, which is the embodiment of this, like, it's all working out. It's all good. Like, I don't have to worry about things because the universe, the Tao, is taking care of it, which comes down to this last line I'll read from this interpretation. It was a beautiful gift from one of our members, Greg Pentecost. Thank you, Greg. And just the last line here says, in doing by not doing, there is nothing that cannot be controlled. All right. That doesn't speak to the joyfulness, which is a part of it for me, but it speaks very much to the not trying to control the thing, not worrying about the thing, how's it going to happen, but by letting go is exactly how it all comes to be.
Exactly how you can control it.
Yeah, that's how you. It's that paradox. I mean,
yeah,
it's why this book has been so. It's why you can explore 81 chapters of a single book for your entire life and continue to gain from it. I mean, we've been reading this book in our Sunday services for 5 years, and still people who have been there for almost 5 years are just like, wow, I just had this realization after hearing that for the umpteenth time.
every chapter is new.
Yeah.
The next time you read it, it seems like.
Well, what's that saying? I love that kind of principle that it's not new. We are new. Every time we come back to this text, we're a new person because we have evolved and grown, hopefully from something that we've learned from this and other sacred texts.
Yeah, I love that. that brings, as you shared that about being able to recognize a desire within ourselves and like recognize like, yes, that is something that's for me, and release the how part to this mysterious force, this mysterious thing that we're in, and trusting that, you know, we don't have to be the ones that make it happen, contrary to what our current culture
Well, the Tao Te Ching
tells us.
is, and Taoism in its origin, you know, there is certainly a kind of a modern Taoism that is very religious, but like original Daoist shamanism spoke to very directly so much of what is now being confirmed through quantum science and quantum physics, these understandings at subatomic levels, that it's all perception. You know, we are creating with our mind, or we're creating with our perspective. And the way that we do that is by not doing anything, by getting out of the way, just understanding that intentionality itself is one of the most powerful forces in existence. And all of this around us is built out of intention and imagination that through, and I guess it's really, whenever we're talking about this, it's really important to say that this doesn't mean that we don't do anything, right? We're sitting down and having this conversation. Someone built this microphone. The walls around us were formed by labor, and we all do work. But just by the virtue of our own desire, if we will not try to will ourselves into that work, that we find that we just naturally do it without doing. That's the Wu way of Taoism.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was wanting to speak to as well. What comes to mind is the different types of permaculture, like when we talk about growing food versus like mono crops and like heavy giant machinery and tilling. And if you're a garden folk, you know what I'm talking about. But there's this approach of working with what's already given to us and utilizing that versus forcing our way to a solution. So that's how I see this type of teaching.
Yeah.
Just working with what we're given and seeing the opportunity that we're given and moving with that instead of like trying to swim against the riptide type of thing.
There will come to it at some point, and I'm not sure how it translates in that one, but there's one passage somewhere in the book that talks about the greatest butcher cleaves without cutting or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like you're just so in the flow and skillfully at one with whatever you're doing that the meat cuts itself.
You happen to start dancing, all of a sudden your dinner is prepared because you're so in the flow.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of research in the last 15 years about flow states and how the most successful athletes, entrepreneurs, people are in a flow state.
Yeah, lose yourself. There's something in that. Let me see. There's something in there that speaks directly to, the forgetting oneself, doesn't it? By not seeing the desires of lust. Maybe not. I thought there was something. Emptying one's mind, substantiate one's virtue, weaken one's worldly ambition, and strengthen one's essence. I mean, it speaks really to that. Like the top performing athlete, is he really thinking about like winning the gold medal, or is he just thinking about being fully present in that moment and being, or she, just bringing forth their full presence, their full essence in that moment? Anyway, probably running out of time here. We're getting close to time.
I was going to say, how can we woo-way that statement? Yeah, I would love to know for you listening, like what is coming up for you in your life? Where, as we're talking about this whole concept of having a desire and knowing it's for you and also not striving or trying so hard to help it come to fruition. I'm so curious what that is for you. Put it in the comments, or join our Sunday service. Every Sunday, we explore the Tao Te Ching in conversation with our community at Sanctuary. And we would love to have you there and join in on that conversation and explore with us. Hear your interpretation of all of this. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that was wonderful.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week as we explore chapter 4 of the Tao Te Ching. See you then.